It seems that it is our most vulnerable neighbors who again and again get hit the hardest in the area of housing, whether by the market pressures of the boom and bust real estate cycles or by natural disaster. The Wyndham and Windsor Housing Trust is proud of the work it's done for close to 25 years to provide clean, safe, perpetually affordable rental housing and to facilitate the ownership of housing by people for whom ownership would otherwise be out of reach. The organization has helped to create and now manages over 700 housing units in Wyndham and Windsor counties. Much of it has involved renovation of dilapidated buildings and upgrading of blighted neighborhoods, but we're also extremely excited to be working now in partnership with the Brattleboro Food Co-op to provide over 20 new units of downtown, accessible, mixed-income housing above the new co-op store across the street. We look forward to showing you around that project in a few minutes. Southeast corner of Vermont, where he grew up, raised a family, and lives. It's my tremendous pleasure to present the Governor of the state of Vermont, Peter Shumlin.
So exciting to have my baby brother introduce me. That's and I just want to, I'm really proud that he's the president of this board, working so closely with Drew Richards and the rest of the board to do great things with an extraordinary staff, and Connie Snow, who just is an extraordinary leader. What a great story. And all the good things that Jeff does, I taught him. Those that aren't so good learn from his big sister kid. And I'm really delighted to be here with my parents. My mom and my dad look alike, are both here. You know, everywhere I go in the state, people say, you know, how's your dad? And I say, well, he's fine. Well, what do you mean? And they said, well, you know, we saw that picture in the Jaws of Life, you know, 45 minutes to cut him out, and then he got flown up there at dark and went to Dartmouth and all that stuff. And I said, yeah, but around dinner time, he was still bloody, and he said, hey, it's martini time, it's time for dinner, I'm going home with my wife. It was funny because Jeff and I, you know those family moments you have, and they run all the tests and everything, and even did a sonogram, I think they thought he was pregnant anyway. So when we got all done, we didn't think we were done, but when the doctor said we're going to spend the night, we're going to watch your heart, we said, well, have you seen anything yet? This is really true. And they said, no. And he said, well, it's dinner time. I'm going home. And you got to be there to believe this. The doctor goes to Jeff and I, figuring it's his best hope, you know. If it were my dad, we'd have him stay. And I said, Jeff and I are wise enough to know not to speak when it will do no good. Great to be home. I couldn't tell that story anywhere else. It was just between family. I just want to say a few words about the challenges that we're facing together and what an extraordinary opportunity this is for both the Wyndham Windsor Housing Trust and in our partnership with NeighborhoodWorks, as well as for Brattleboro. Listen, I was riding on a plane with Jim Douglas recently from Washington to Vermont, and we had several hours together. And I turned to him at one point and I said, you know, Governor, isn't it true that you served Vermont for 8 years and you never had a major natural disaster? And he goes, yeah. And I said, I'm telling you, I'm going over to Middlebury and I'm joining your church. And when I think about the challenges that Brattleboro has faced in the 10 months that I've been governor, being back home in the town where I was born. Remember the Brooks fire? We all do. This land trust was there helping people who had no place to live get a place to live. They were the best partner to ensure that nobody lived in the cold that night, that week, or that month. Then we had the tragedy of the co-op. And we all gathered together in the parking lot across the street and tried to make sense of a senseless tragedy. But again, this community rose up and stood up and said, we're sticking together and we're caring for each other. And then, you know, little Whetstone Brook turned into a major river. And we watched flooding that was absolutely inconceivable to our most wild imaginations. And once again, this community pulled together and said, we're going to rebuild better than the way the Whetstone found us before it flooded. And again, the Land Trust and this organization was there working together to help people through application processes with the SBA and with the FEMA on the federal level, up in Wilmington and the other communities that were hit so hard, Wardsboro and others, to make sure that people had a place to stay, that they had housing, to ensure that as we got them into temporary permanent housing, it was a good place to live, as good as we could find. And again, helping rebuild, having a vision and a commitment to our most vulnerable citizens to ensure that we take care of everybody in our community, in this community, in Brattleboro. And there is no better example of resilience, commitment, caring for each other, neighbors helping neighbors, and neighbors helping strangers than what we saw happen since Irene in Brattleboro. So I want to tell you how proud I am to be the governor of the state, the best people in the country who take care of each other in ways that don't happen in the rest of America. We've got a lot to be proud of. When I think about the evolution of this organization, the partnership with Windsor.
Through the cafe.
Yeah. That's new. Alex?
Oh, Rika. Okay. Yeah, I guess so. The snow wasn't bad except for
Oh, right there it's
open
still
roof
there.
area. The tower was pretty, tight. So this is pretty dry.
So part of the roof was complete?
Yeah, it was pretty far along, so not too much snow got in. That was intense.
Yes.
It's the food co-op down here. The food store part of the food co-op. Up above us is the food store part. The office and administrative area is a community room. Like we'll get up there next. But basically, the main entry to the store is going to be right over there on the other side of these steel studs, partitions. These are going to be where the chicks and the checkout's going to be, and that's going to be the egg bowl here. And you'll shop the store, looping around that way, starting with produce and bulk foods off to the immediate right, grocery over to the side. The entire back wall is just prepared foods and deli. And these little stud partition things here are their wine and cheese, health and beauty aids, and a food demonstration. What we did when we designed the store, I'm not sure if you're familiar with food stores in general, but they hate to have windows. And here we have this beautiful in-city site. What do we do when you want to have all that energy, all the good things that an urban building should do in a city, but you don't want to have shopping store like concrete block walls? So what we did is we built it into the hillside so they can do all our grocery store stuff. We did it there at windows, and we put the cafe right out on the end, put energy right out on the street. So there's all set up. So the public face of this building for the co-op is going to be the cafe off to the side. And then the entry, and then we have a really nice kind of farmers market over here with pervious pavements and a lot of kind of stormwater management, innovative stormwater management stuff, and a constructed wetlands off to the side to protect this sensitive site along Whetstone Brook. One thing before we go upstairs that you may or may not know, grocery stores have a lot of refrigeration. Refrigeration needs a lot of energy. After you refrigerate things, you have a lot of waste heat. So we're reclaiming the waste heat. small firm, but we do a lot of, we focus on community projects. We don't focus on co-ops, we don't focus on projects that are like out in the suburbs. We do only community projects, and mainly in Vermont. They do a lot of affordable housing. So, yeah, knock on wood, but there's no wood yet. Knock on wood, we'll continue that. So that's a little bit of a briefing on the food store. So I think we'll go up next.
Very clean construction.